The garage lights had been extinguished when a faint voice emerged from the darkness. "Please don't kill us, Hell's Angels." Captain Dean Forge Mercer placed his wrench down in the shadowed entrance of his workshop as 4 children gathered around an injured woman. Their eyes were wide, their breath creating fog in the frigid midnight air. Before we proceed, leave a comment indicating your location. If this narrative resonates with you, please like and subscribe to ensure you don't miss future stories of resilience and brotherhood. On the outskirts of Birch River Junction, the Iron Lantern Garage served as the Hells Angels headquarters. The squat brick structure carried the scent of heated steel, chain lubricant, and strong coffee. Within its walls, wrenches clinked rhythmically while a solitary radio played classic rock beneath the rafters. D&E Forge Mercer, the chapter captain, secured a primary cover on a 1998 Road King. His shoulders were broad, his jaw resembled carved granite. His philosophy was straightforward: ride with intensity, offer assistance with even greater force. When the whispered plea reached his ears, small and urgent, he rotated slowly. The workshop door remained partially ajar, permitting a stream of winter wind to enter as 4 silhouettes materialized. A lanky boy gripped a backpack tightly. A girl wore an oversized hoodie. A smaller child embraced a blanket. The youngest peered from behind the others. Near the tire rack, a woman lay on a creeper, barely conscious. Dark blood stained her sleeve. The eldest girl drew in air shakily. "We had nowhere else to turn." Forge's voice descended to a low, controlled register. "Your instincts were correct. You're protected now. Nobody dies on my floor." The club mobilized rapidly, instincts engaging like machinery. Rook Alvarez, Forge's road sergeant, silenced the radio and elevated the bay lights to maximum brightness. Pacho Roar, their medic, removed his gloves and knelt beside the woman. "Pulse is weak, blood pressure critically low. We require heat and fluids immediately." The children recoiled at each movement, their eyes tracking the heavy leather jackets, the rocker patches, the skull rings that gleamed like miniature storms. Forge crouched to meet the eldest child's gaze. "Name?" She managed to swallow. "Harper." "He's Bennett." "That's Nova." "The little one is Tate." "Mom's Rain." Tate's fingers trembled as he whispered, "Please don't hurt us. We're not thieves." Forge's expression softened considerably. "Kid, the only casualty tonight will be the fear in your chest." Rook retrieved blankets from the office. Patch began an IV with the practiced hands of someone who'd mastered composure under pressure. The shop heater roared to life. Forge moved with deliberate purpose, clearing workbenches and creating space. "Harper," he said, "explain what happened." Her eyes darted toward the door, then to her mother's blood. "He's pursuing us." "Who?" Forge inquired. Harper's lips quivered. "Vince Cade. He controls the Blacktop Vipers. Mama grabbed us and fled." Patch examined Rain's ribs carefully. Breathing is constricted, at least 2 fractures, extensive abdominal bruising. She's severely dehydrated. A hospital is necessary. Bennett stepped forward, jaw clenched with determination. "He'll locate us there." Forge's stare intensified. "He'll have to traverse through us first." He gestured to Rook. "Prepare the van. Bring the portable stretcher." Nova tugged at Forge's sleeve. "He claimed motorcycles don't help anyone. He said bikers only steal." Forge exhaled deliberately. "He fabricated that." The children observed Patch applying gauze tape with gentle efficiency. They heard the heater rattle into operation. They felt warmth gradually returning to their extremities. In the corner, the club's banner, crimson and white, hung like a covenant. Rain stirred. Her breathing labored. "Harper." The girl dropped to her knees swiftly, grasping her hand. "We're safe, Mama." Forge squeezed Tate's shoulder reassuringly. "You're in the correct garage." Outside, the night intensified. The town's neon lights flickered, creating reflections across wet asphalt. Somewhere in the darkness, an engine barked twice, as though the night itself responded. They operated like a rehearsed drill. Rook reversed the van to the bay, doors thrown wide. Patch and Forge lifted Rain onto the portable stretcher. Careful with her ribs. Harper slid in behind her, fists white-knuckled on the rail. Bennett climbed in second, eyes monitoring the door constantly. Nova and Tate clutched the blanket between them like a miniature banner. You ride with me, Forge instructed the two youngest, indicating his motorcycle. Hold firmly, I don't drop angels. Rook smirked. Since when did you become soft? Forge's expression communicated volumes. Since a mother bled on my concrete. The convoy departed. Two Harleys flanked the van, Forge positioned at the front. Headlights carved through the winter haze. Exhaust plumes drifted like phantoms above the roadway. In the side mirror, Harper watched the garage diminish, then observed her mother's pallid face. Patch monitored vitals, voice steady. Stay with me, Rain. Tires hissed through puddles. The Birch River Clinic occupied the far edge of town, a compact building beneath a single sodium lamp. Forge's jaw flexed. Doors open, boots quiet. We don't alarm the staff, we preserve the patient. At triage, nurses froze at the influx of leather and steel. Ortibore raised both hands. She's the only narrative. Patch delivered vitals efficiently. Female 30s, blunt trauma, hypotensive with rib fractures, suspected internal hemorrhaging. Staff snapped into action. Gurney, monitors, IV pumps hummed like insects. Harper attempted to follow. A nurse blocked her gently. Sweetheart, we'll care for her. Harper's chin trembled. Forge intervened. She doesn't wait alone. The nurse glanced at his patch, then at Harper's shaking fingers. 1 minute. Harper kissed Rain's forehead, whispering something only a daughter comprehends. They settled into the waiting area, fluorescent lights buzzing like anxious insects. Nova pressed her cheek against Tate's hair, while Bennett paced, fists buried in hoodie pockets. Forge procured cocoa from the vending machine, and a stack of coloring pages scavenged from pediatrics. Stay occupied, he said gently. Harper stared at the swinging ward doors, jaw set. He'll come, she murmured. Vince always does. Forge crouched to eye level. Then he'll encounter us. Patch emerged briefly, eyes fatigued but optimistic. She's stabilized. CT scan next. She asked for the children. Relief cascaded through the room like a collapsing wave. Tate whispered, "Are we going home?" Forge's face softened. "You will, but not tonight." Rook's burner phone buzzed. He stepped aside, listening, shoulders tensing. "Heads up," he informed Forge quietly. "Vipers are circling the east side. 2 scouts, possibly 3, searching for runaways." Forge's gaze cooled to steel. He turned to Harper. "Can I borrow your fear for an hour?" Confused, she nodded. "Excellent. I'm going to invest it somewhere productive." Outside, Rain needled the parking area, drawing halos around the sodium lamps. 3 unfamiliar motorcycles idled across the street. Riders slouched, faces concealed in beanies and smoke. Forge handed Rook a straightforward plan. No theatrics, just pressure points. "We don't initiate fights," he said, sliding his gloves on. "We terminate danger." They crossed slowly, boots loud enough to command attention. The Viper straightened, smugness curdling into caution. "Evening, gentlemen," Forge said. "You're lost." One rider snorted. "We're sightseeing." Rook gestured at the ER sign. "Then admire the section where people receive second chances." Another Viper flicked his cigarette. "We're searching for a woman and some brats. None of your concern." Forge stepped closer, voice dropping. "Everything involving harm is our concern." The smallest Viper shifted, nerves betraying him. Cade said. He caught himself too late. Forge's tone remained calm. "Inform Vince to try a different planet. This town's closed." Engines flared in a brittle display. The men hesitated, then peeled away into the rain, bravado thinning behind taillights. Rook exhaled. Round 1. Forge didn't smile. Rounds conclude when kids sleep safely. Back inside, Patch guided the kids into Rain's room. Beeping monitors cast soft light across the sheets. Rain's eyes opened, clouded but present. Her bruises resembled departing storms. Harper took her hand. Bennett stood guard at the footrail, pretending not to tremble. Nova whispered, "Hi, Mama." Tate climbed onto the chair, blanket trailing like a small comet. Rain's voice rasped. "I'm sorry." Forge shook his head. "No apologies tonight, only breathing." She studied the rocker patch on his chest, surprise crossing pain. "Why help us?" Forge's answer was simple. "Because someone once helped me." Patch cleared his throat. "Good news and bad news. Your ribs wet. They'll heal, but the man you abandoned won't release easily." Rain's mouth hardened. "He never earned us." Forge glanced at Harper. You have somewhere safe we can land? Harper's eyes fell. We didn't plan that far. He nodded. Then we plan now. House first, fear later. Outside the door, Rook texted the chapter. Engines began awakening across Birch River, like distant thunder deciding where to descend. They relocated Rain and the children to a safe house the club maintained above Juno's Tire and Glass. 2 rooms, clean sheets, a stubborn radiator that clanked like an old companion. Rook hung blankets over the windows. Patch left medications, instructions, and a phone preloaded with emergency numbers. Harper stood in the kitchenette, staring at a chipped mug as though it represented a future. Forge set a grocery bag on the counter. Soup, cereal, fruit cups, a ridiculous box of rainbow popsicles. He paused. For victories. Bennett finally cracked a smile. Are we permitted to laugh around here? Forge replied, laughter is security. Down on the street, 2 angels posted up with coffee and vigilant eyes. Forge walked the stairwell with Rook, speaking quietly. Cade's not finished. He wants trophies, obedience. We're going to offer consequences instead. Rook's phone pinged. A license plate number, a motel address, a photograph of Vince Cade's custom diner, snakeskin seat glistening under neon. Rook nodded. We knock. Forge's jaw set. We knock with daylight and neighbors watching. Morning cracked open, crisp and luminous. The chapter assembled in the diner across from the Birch River Motel. Plates of eggs growing cold beside untouched coffee. Through the window, Vince Cade swaggered from room 12, laughing into a phone, boots loud with arrogance. Forge didn't blink. We keep this clean, he said. We speak plainly. He walks away, or he falls alone. They crossed the street in a slow phalanx, leather patches radiating restraint. Cade looked up, grin curdling. Well, if it isn't St. Mercer and his charity choir. Forge stopped an arm's length away. Rain and the children are under our protection. You will not contact, follow, threaten, or breathe on that family again. Cade scoffed. She's mine. Forge's voice cooled. People aren't property. Try again. A few motel doors cracked open. Eyes observed. Cade's crew hovered near their bikes, uncertain. Forge let silence perform the heavy lifting. Walk, he said. Find a new state. Your name doesn't spend here anymore. Cade's smile died. This isn't over. Forge nodded once. You're right. It ends now, depending on you. The standoff stretched thin as wire. The motel parking lot smelled of gasoline and tension. One of Cade's men shifted, uncertain which direction loyalty leaned when consequence was watching. Forge didn't raise his hands, didn't reach for a weapon. He simply stared, a stillness heavier than threat. You remember that night in Pueblo? He asked quietly. Cade's eyes flickered up, a flash of recognition and fear registering there. You left a boy bleeding on the asphalt. He lived. He rides with me now. A hush rolled over the lot, like dust settling after a storm. So, when I say walk away, Forge added, you listen. The other bikers looked at Cade, then at Forge's brothers lined behind him. Calm, immovable, carved from grit and purpose. Cade spat on the ground but stepped back. You're protecting trash. Forge shook his head. I'm protecting what's worth saving. Trash takes care of itself. When Cade finally turned to his bike, the chapter waited until the engines faded. Only then did Rook exhale. Think he's smart enough to stay gone? Forge stared east. No, but he'll think twice before testing mercy twice. By afternoon, Birch River felt lighter, sky clearer, air no longer carrying dread. The angels spent the day repairing bikes outside the garage again. Kids rode by on bicycles, waving. Life crawled back into color. Upstairs at Juno's, Rain sat propped against pillows, sunlight tracing her face like forgiveness. She watched Harper braid Nova's hair while Tate napped on the couch. Bennett leaned over a battered tablet Forge had found in storage, grinning at an old racing game. For the first time, laughter sounded natural. Forge stopped by, leaving groceries and a soft, "You all right?" Rain nodded. "We're breathing, which is more than last week." Her voice caught. "You didn't have to." Forge smiled faintly. Sure I did. That's the rule, patch or not. If someone's down, you lift. She studied him. You don't even know us. I don't need to, he said, eyes steady. Sometimes you save strangers because you wish someone had saved you that way once. The room went quiet, heavy with understanding. Nova climbed onto Rain's lap. Mama, she whispered, are we safe now? Rain looked at Forge. Yeah, baby. For now, we are. 3 days later, the chapter met at dusk behind the garage. The air smelled of rain and gasoline. Rook laid maps across the hood of a Chevy. Vipers scattered, he said. Some gone south, a few still sniffing near state line. Forge rubbed his temples. He'll try pride before peace. Patch grunted. You can't fix rot, only starve it. Forge nodded. Then we starve it. He walked to his Harley, staring at the town beyond. We guard the house quietly. No fire unless it finds us first. Rook frowned. You're not sleeping. Won't until she can. That night, Forge sat on the garage roof, smoke curling from his cigarette into a violet sky. From here, the safe house lights looked small but alive. He thought of the kids' faces, the way fear had folded into trust, and felt something ache in his chest, old as the road itself. Down below, his brothers tuned bikes in easy rhythm. For the first time in years, the sound didn't just feel like noise, it felt like belonging echoing across chrome. The next morning brought coffee, rain, and trouble disguised as quiet. Forge had just opened the garage when Harper burst in, breathless. He's back, she gasped. Rook froze mid-sip. Who? Vince. At the diner. He's asking for you. Forge wiped his hands, grabbed his cut, and walked out without a word. The diner sat 2 blocks down, steam fogging its windows. Inside, locals hushed when he entered. Cade sat at the counter, black eye healing poorly, smirk absent. He turned, voice low. I came to talk. Forge stood behind him, unblinking. Talk. You win, Cade said. I'm pulling out, but I need gas money and my bike parts back. Forge's jaw tightened. You'll get your bike. You'll ride it out of this county before sundown. Cade nodded, then hesitated. She told you everything, didn't she? Enough. Then you know she ain't blameless. Forge leaned close. Neither am I. Difference is, I make peace, not excuses. He paid the waitress for Cade's coffee, placed a 20 beside the cup. Last charity you'll ever receive from this patch. As Forge left, the waitress whispered, You didn't have to. Yeah, he said, but mercy's cheaper than revenge. That evening, Forge parked his Harley outside Juno's and climbed the stairs. The kids were drawing on cardboard boxes with crayons, laughter spilling down the hall. Rain opened the door, cleaner now, color in her face. He's gone, she said quietly. He won't be back. Forge nodded. I figured. The silence between them was gentle now, not heavy. She looked at him, eyes soft. You didn't just save us. You reminded me what decency looks like. Forge shrugged. Decency's overrated. Real lasts longer. Tate toddled over, holding a rough crayon sketch, 5 stick figures, one wearing a biker vest. That's you, he said proudly. Forge chuckled, kneeling. You made me taller. 'Cause you are. Tate grinned. Rain smiled. For a fleeting second, the whole room felt like sunlight through storm glass. Fragile, real, alive. Forge stood. Keep the door locked. We'll be nearby. You always are, Rain said. When he left, the sound of little feet running and laughter followed him down the stairwell, trailing behind like a promise the world had finally decided to keep. That night, Forge rode alone. The road stretched black and endless, the hum of the Harley the only heartbeat he trusted. Birch River faded behind him, its lights a fragile constellation in the mirror. He wasn't running, just breathing where the world still echoed back. Every turn carried the scent of rain and redemption. At a gas station on Route 7, he stopped, hands trembling slightly as he filled the tank. The attendant, a young veteran with tired eyes, nodded at his patch. You guys still do charity rides? Forge smirked. Every ride's charity if you do it right. The kid grinned faintly. My mom said bikers saved her once. Forge looked at him a long moment, then said softly, "Then she met the right ones." As he pulled back onto the highway, headlights cut through mist and memory alike. Somewhere, 4 kids were sleeping without fear for the first time in months. And in the rhythm of his engine, Forge swore he could hear them breathing, steady, alive, free. Morning rolled in gold and pale blue. At the garage, Rook was already sweeping, Patch flipping pancakes on a camp stove that smelled of oil and maple. "You ride all night again?" Rook asked, without looking up. "Didn't sleep much," Forge replied. "Road talks better than dreams." Harper appeared at the door holding a cardboard box, tools, rags, and a paper sign scribbled in kid handwriting. "Thank you, crew." Nova peeked from behind her. "Mama said we have to say goodbye properly." Forge crouched. "Where you headed?" "Somewhere sunny," Harper said. "Mama found work near the coast." She paused. "She told us you don't owe us anything." Forge shook his head. "That's not how debt works. You keep living, we stay even." Harper smiled, shy but sure. Nova handed him a small seashell necklace. "So you don't forget." "I won't," Forge said quietly. The convoy gathered as the family's borrowed van rumbled to life. No speeches, no tears, just waves and engines rumbling low, the sound of goodbyes dressed as thunder. Weeks passed, then months. Birch River thawed into spring. The garage buzzed with new life. Young riders stopping by to tune engines, locals dropping off pies and coffee. A mural bloomed on the back wall, painted by neighborhood kids. "Angels don't always have wings. Some ride Harleys." Rook laughed when he saw it. "Think the boss likes his new halo?" Forge just smirked. "Better than horns." Later, Patch found a letter tucked under the shop door. Rain's handwriting careful and graceful. Inside, a photo. The kids on a beach, sunburned and grinning, waves curling behind them. On the back, it read, "For the men who proved kindness has chrome." Forge stared at it a long time before pinning it above the workbench. The laughter from outside drifted in. Proof the world, for all its breaking, still had rhythm. He looked at the photo again. "Guess Mercy does ride," he murmured, voice barely, louder than the hum of an idling heart. Summer brought long rides and louder sunsets. The Angels rolled cross-country for a veterans fundraiser, chrome flashing like rivers of light. Forge led the pack, the wind tugging at his bandana, the sound of engines layered like music. At a rest stop near the state line, a man in a wheelchair waved them down, a Gulf War vet named Denny, who'd lost everything but his humor. "You boys still do that charity thing?" he asked. Forge grinned. "Only 7 days a week." They helped refuel his van, bought him lunch, and listened to stories about brothers who never came home. When Denny asked what made Forge keep doing it, he said, "Because somebody once thought we were villains. Turns out we were just waiting for a chance to be human." The man nodded, tears slipping quietly down sunburned cheeks. As they rode off, the convoy shimmered in the heat haze. Not an army, not a gang, but a moving prayer stitched from noise and mercy. Autumn returned like a soft confession. The garage lights glowed warm through falling leaves. Forge sat outside with a cup of black coffee, wind whispering through the trees. Rook tossed him the day's mail, bills, flyers, and a postcard. It was from Rain. "Kids start school tomorrow. Harper wants to learn engines. Nova says hi. We owe you our peace." He smiled faintly, pocketing it like a relic. The night deepened, stars blinking awake over the quiet town. In the distance, a Harley roared, then another, until the hum became harmony. Forge stood, raised his cup toward the road. "Ride safe wherever you are." The engines answered like thunder, promising protection. And under that sound, in the stillness of Birch River, one truth lingered. Sometimes the roughest hands hold the gentlest miracles. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that strength can resemble kindness and thunder can sound like mercy, subscribe, like, and share it forward, because somewhere tonight, another story is waiting to be saved by the roar of compassion